Hello and welcome. My name is Timothy Reader Wright. This is Gnostic Tarot Cards guest speaker Payne Towler and her presentation of Jean Beauchard Masonic Tarot deck. The Masonic Tarot with Payne Towler is done with the illustrations and artwork by Jean Beauchard, which is copyright. And to see more of Payne Towler's teachings, as well as purchasing the Tarot of the Holy Light, a collage tarot of the 16th century, visit http://noriabrownfield.com/shop-tarot.
Where I'd like to start tonight is with looking at the back of the cards, in this case, the Masonic Tarot. So let's get an image of that going, get ourselves visualizing this, because I think this is the key to every card in the deck. Notice, first of all, that it basically consists of 3 overlapping circles. And those 3 circles are like the 3 world schema that we're taught from antiquity. The heaven world, then the social, cultural, psychological world in the middle, then the nature world below. So that's one of the things that you see. Another realization is this hexagram or 6-pointed star inside the central circle. So centered on that very middle bead at the very center of the diagram. And you notice going up towards one end, you could call it the top, are 3 smaller nexus points, and then going down from the center bead are 3 smaller nexus points. So you basically have a septenary scheme. What does that remind you of? 7 planetary governors and all the many esoteric 7s. You could also see this, we will see this playing out in the individual cards. But I just want you to notice the several shapes that are inside this triple circle. For one thing, that central circle overlaid upon the one above and the one below creates 2 Vesica Pisces. You see those horizontally arranged? So each one takes up 1/2 of that Star of David, and, demonstrates a special zone of significance, because that central circle holds the hexagram, holds these 2 Vesica Pisces. It's also inscribed within a square that is exactly half the dimension of the image, or half the dimension of the back. You notice the way these proportions run. The heavy square, the big rectangle that takes up all the width and most of the length of this image on the back of the cards, it starts at that uppermost crossing point and ends at the lower crossing point. But the 2 outermost spheres extend beyond it. So you could see the big rectangle, the big double-lined rectangle representing the visible world. But those things that emanate down from above or arise from below have their origination points outside of this rectangle. So we have a mathematically bounded state that will divide the field that it inscribes by 3. I think if you looked at it proportionally down one side, you would find that those strong horizontals that are the horizontal bars of the Star of David, They divide that visual field into thirds. Do you see what I'm pointing out here? Not the entire field of the whole back, but the field inside the square rectangle is divided into three by the crossbars of the central Star of David. So, really, if we were to behave Masonically towards this diagram, we would first see it as a whole. Then we would look for the binary, and that's easy enough to find because there's a vertical that cuts it in half lengthwise. There's a horizontal that cuts it in half. I got that backwards. There's a vertical that cuts it in half widthwise. There's a horizontal that cuts it in half lengthwise. So the proportion of 2 is served by the quadrature of the field. 2 up and down, 2 left and right. Then the 3 is served by the 3 portions of this rectangle that includes the Star of David and up to the 7th point and down to the 1st point. But again, we have vanishing points beyond those 7 central nodes. And those vanishing points lead the mind and the eye into an upper world and a lower world that's outside that strong rectangle. So now we see, then you get to the realm of a 4, and, we can go back to the quadrature again, or we can look at these diamond shapes that, again, emanate from the center, make an X at the center, and then come to a point off the edge of the rectangle at each end. There's, 2 spaces then that have been rendered into their own quarters. So actually, you could see this as a 4 mirrored by another 4 above and below. We could go on, but this is the technique, right? We're going to use this backdrop. We're going to use the back of the card as a template for how the designer arranged the elements from one card to the next. And, I think that you're going to see the arrangement of lines and curves that you see here echoed in the geometrical structures that the cards are hung on. So we'll think back to this when we, bump into elements of it on the faces of the card. But this is just the Masonic trestle board that this particular artist is using to frame out the visual space and the conceptual space. And they're basically the same. Internal vision, external vision, with the understanding that it's all governed by this sacred geometry that we see here.